time to get fit. It's time to eat right. It's time to change your life with Peter's Principles. Welcome to Peter's Principles, a show dedicated to empower your life with hope. See, we all need hope, especially if we're going through a physical challenge. And millions of Americans each and every year face the challenge of dealing with addictions. I lost my own dad over 25 years ago being addicted to alcohol and cigarettes. And there are so many other forms, ranging from gambling to eating to exercise to even sex. See, but the common denominator to recovery spells believing in yourself, having faith, having hope, recognizing that you cannot do this alone and you need help. Over the next half hour, we're going to be meeting amazing people that have wonderful testimonies that will hopefully touch your life.
I had lost control.
One day it all just came tumbling down.
I was devastated.
I became a terrible father.
I lost my soul and what it took to get that back.
I think it's life-threatening.
I would be dead if I didn't go into recovery.
This is the story of addiction. Different names, different faces, different backgrounds, but they all have the same story. The demons of addiction control their life.
The addiction that I battled was alcohol and drug abuse.
Ken Van Elslander seemed to have the perfect life, a great family, a lot of money, and a job as president of Art Van Furniture. But inside he was fighting a battle that took over his life.
I became everything I never wanted to be.
Ken would go out on binges for days, leaving his wife and 3 young daughters alone and worried.
It was awful. There were lots of fights, lots of anger, lots of tears.
I became secluded, and I just kept going further and further into my addiction.
Ken's wife Janice knew she had to help her husband, so she planned an intervention.
She got family members together and orchestrated this conversation with me. And I got on my knees and I just said, God help me. And I was able to open up my heart a little bit and take in the message that people were giving me about, taking care of myself, recovery.
What we do is we try to harness the power of love and concern among the family members and friends and focus that down in a very specific and exact way for this kind of structured conversation.
Jeff J. flies all over the nation to help families and people battle back from addiction. Jeff is an intervention story himself. His family helped get him treatment for alcohol dependency back in the 80s. Now he's giving back and serving other families through the process. He and his wife Deborah believe in intervening properly. They wrote a book called Love First, a family's guide to intervention.
It's very step-by-step. There's actually a method to this, and if you follow the method, you are likely to get the result that you're looking for.
Jeff says the important thing for people to realize is addiction is a disease. The person who is chemically dependent no longer has control.
A person really does become dependent, and the brain actually tricks them into thinking that they need the chemical, that they must have it in the same way that they must have air.
So how can you tell if someone you know needs help?
When the person is suffering repeated negative consequences as a result of their alcohol and or drug use, and they keep doing it anyway, that's a problem.
I'm a recovering alcoholic. I ended up trading that addiction for another addiction down the road, compulsive gambling.
Michael was an attorney for 25 years, but he gambled his career away. He lost his license, went to prison, and had to repay $1.6 million to his victims.
Like most gamblers, I hid it, I lied about it. Nobody really knew what I was doing. It was devastating. It's an addiction that affects you, your family, your community.
Addiction is not just about alcohol or drugs. There are many different things a person can become dependent upon, and like in Michael's case, if you're addicted to one thing, you can become addicted to something else. With treatment, Michael has control over his dependency and now helps others beat gambling addictions.
Never, ever give up.
I just chose to want to be miserable. And, I tried taking a bunch of sleeping pills and not waking up the next day. And even that wasn't enough. The next day I still went out and drank.
Addiction has no age barrier. Derek was only 15 years old when his dependency began.
When things really started to get downhill, I actually tried taking my life.
Derek continued to try and end his life with alcohol.
I didn't understand why he kept getting in trouble, and I was just so angry.
Derek's probation officer gave the teen an ultimatum, either jail or rehab. Derek chose to go to Brighton Hospital.
Brighton Hospital basically is a beacon of hope for those afflicted and affected by the disease of alcoholism and drug addiction. And we offer solutions to patients and families as they seek to remove themselves from the ravages of addiction.
Brighton Hospital is the second oldest treatment center in the United States. It offers a 12-step family system of treatment and care.
We have an inpatient program, first detox for people who need detoxification. We have a rehab program, which is inpatient treatment. We also offer intensive outpatient program.
They also have programs like acupuncture.
It allows the body to come back into its natural balance, which is just a wonderful thing to see the healing come from within.
It planted a seed of recovery in me, so even if I do go out, there's that part of me that knows what I'm doing is wrong, and that salvation is just a call away.
With Brighton Hospital and his newfound faith, Derek is starting a new life.
Faith is the only reason, really, I am where I'm at now. 'Cause before this, I had no faith. I essentially acted as God. Alcohol is my higher power. I sincerely believe that, God gave me this disease for a reason, and if I choose to utilize it as He intends, which I believe, because of this, I have an opportunity.
Changing really every part of my life, and then also bringing God back into my life, that really opened my eyes to just so many wonderful things.
Ken knew he had to make other changes in his life, and he had to find his purpose.
He'd been really praying for direction in his life for some time, that he felt as though he wasn't doing what he should be doing more. There was something else he needed to be doing.
All of a sudden, I just really felt this peace come over me, do this. Do this. And to me, that was God telling me, look, it's time.
So on a weekend vacation, Ken knew what he had to do. He told his wife he was leaving his high-paying job as president of the Art Van Furniture Company.
There's fear. It's really scary. I got to be really honest. That's a total change. But I think there's a level of trust that I have in him and belief in him and his ability, and we'll be fine.
Ken was putting his faith and trust in God. He knew he had a greater calling to help others.
And you're always looking to help people. In some small way or big way, doors open up.
Ken is now working on getting his master's in counseling. He has a strong, wonderful relationship with his daughters, a greater love for his wife, and most importantly, he now has peace.
I get down on my knees in the morning and ask God for guidance for the day, and at the end of the day, I get down on my knees and I thank Him for the day that I've had.
For more information about Brighton Hospital and to start your road to recovery, call 1-877-9-SOBER-1. The road to recovery can be long and stressful. When we come back, I'll show you how exercise can help you get through those rough patches. Welcome back to Peter's Principles. If you're battling stress or an addiction, one of the best things you could do is exercise.
I am 83 years old and I walk every day. Sometimes I'll walk 1 hour, an hour a day, and then sometimes 2 hours in one day.
Alex shows off his 41 pendant with pride. He's been recovering from alcohol addiction for 41 years. Part of his recovery includes walking.
To me, it's very important to try to stay physically fit.
There is research that proves exercise helps in the recovery process. A study of alcoholics in treatment found 69% of those who included exercise in their daily routine remained clean and sober 3 months following treatment. 62% of those who completed treatment without exercise relapsed to drinking.
I just got back to the basics of what recovery is all about, and it's a daily reprieve based upon my spiritual condition. Put the hose on in the garden, and then I get my rollerblades on, and I would rollerblade, and it was like a Mandela mantra.
Researchers say running, walking, or other forms of exercise help fill the void that occurs in early treatment when the drug or alcohol is stopped. It also helps release stress.
Stress is very serious because what it can do is it can make you depressed. When you can't overcome something that's chronic and continuous, then your immune system tends to start to break down. Now you start getting ill and things start to happen. And what happens is you get yourself in a situation where you're in a spiral and it tightens and it tightens and it tightens until you auger right into the ground. Exercise is a great de-stressor and a great way to avoid stress. Reason being is that when you exercise, you release hormones that calm your body down, hormones that make you feel good about what you just did. You exercise, and it keeps your mind off of the stressor. So it's a great way to deal with stress.
It's become very important in my recovery. It's a time where I can connect with the God of my understanding, connect with my soul, connect with the universe.
If you're looking to cleanse your body from toxins, then you need to have plenty of green leafy vegetables. Reason being, it has everything to do with the word chlorophyll. I always say green inside, clean inside. And around this time of the year, there's some incredible vegetables that are right for the picking. One being the winter squash. And in that family, there's the famous pumpkin. Studies show that beta carotene in winter squash can help protect against diseases like cancer, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Pumpkin seeds may actually promote prostate health because of the mineral zinc. They also help protect your bones and have anti-inflammatory benefits for arthritis. The seeds are a rich source of healthy minerals, proteins, and monounsaturated fats, and can also help reduce cholesterol, which are all important if you're trying to detox and keep your body healthy. How do you become addicted? Is there something in your body that can trigger chemical dependency? I'll have answers to those questions when we come back. Welcome back to Peter's Principles. You know, we've heard some powerful stories on how addiction can actually take over your brain. But what happens to your mind anyway to make you addicted?
It's a complex interaction between one's biology and one's environment. Biological factors include genes.
You have that constellation of genes that's going to set you up for chemical dependency. Then all you have to do is add the drug, whether it's alcohol or some other drug, and over time it's very likely that you're going to become chemically dependent at some time in your life.
Millions of people are currently battling this gene and fighting addiction. But just what is the definition of addiction anyway? It's defined as a chronic brain disease.
Chronic drug use results in changes often in brain structure, and certainly we know in brain function. And the more that time plays out with chronic drug use, these effects are going to worsen and be harder to reverse.
Dr. Mark Greenwald is a professor and director of substance abuse and research at Wayne State University School of Medicine. He has conducted a lot of research and studies about substance abuse. His research shows how serious the impact of chronic drug use can be on the brain. These changes in the brain that cause the intense craving do not go away when a person stops using. That is why treatment is so important.
We need to view treatment for addiction in the same way that we do for other medical problems, as a chronic problem needing continuing attention.
Dr. Greenwald's study also found that many people who are addicted have other psychological problems.
People just aren't only addicted usually. The norm is that they also have other co-occurring problems. They may have anxiety or depression, or if they're using alcohol, to excess, they may also be smoking cigarettes to excess.
So what are some of the symptoms you should look for? Change in appearance, not eating properly, change in weight? Do they appear shaky? Is their face puffy? Do they have a blank stare? Have they missed a lot of school or work? Do they appear hyper or have their sleeping habits changed? These are just a few of many symptoms to look out for. The strong message that needs to get across to everyone watching is the importance of treatment.
We need to come together as a society and deal with this as a normative problem, because it's very common in our society, much more than many people are aware of or would like to admit.
Addiction is the inability to control one's use of a substance.
32 years ago, Ted wrestled addiction to the ground and has been doing it ever since with help from Brighton Hospital.
This place saved my marriage, saved my career, probably saved my life. I'm grateful that I had an addiction problem, because I think I live a better life today than I otherwise would have.
Ted is now on the board of Brighton and has dedicated his life to others.
My helping other people with addiction problems helps reinforce my own commitment to my own sobriety.
There are millions of people out there suffering, battling with a demon called addiction. You just need to take the first step.
It's a step of courage, because it really is a journey into the unknown. To actually give up something that's become so familiar.
This is a deadly disease that you're dealing with, but it is treatable. Yeah? And treatment is available anywhere in the country.
Rock bottom's only as far as you're willing to keep digging. And recovery is not going to fall in your lap. It's something that you have to work for.
There is a solution, and you don't have to live in the problem anymore. You see things differently. And there's a gratitude that you have for everyday things that you see,